Hey, welcome to the 17th edition of Before the Battle. I'm Nick Baldwin, your host for today, and joining me on Before the Battle, as always, is the man behind BestFightPicks.com, Daniel Levy. Daniel, thanks for joining me. How's it going?
It's going great, man. Just getting ready to wake up at 5 a.m. to watch some fights. What
So,
about you?
not too much at all. So you are getting up 5 a.m. You're not pulling an all-nighter. It will be you're going to sleep for a bit and then waking up. Is that the plan?
Well, we'll see what happens. I'm not going to make any promises. One thing's for sure, I will be tuning in.
And joining us, as always, writer for today's Knockout and Sportsnet.ca. Go, Paolo. Paolo, thanks again for joining us. How's it going?
Well, thanks for having me back, guys. Good to see you guys.
For sure. Now, are you going to be watching the fights over in Eastern Time? I guess 5 a.m. start time. Well, actually, both are Eastern Time. I'm 1 hour behind. 5 a.m. start time. I guess it's early, but not ridiculously early. Are you going to be watching? What are you going to be watching at all? Anything like that? What's the plan?
Well, like Daniel said, I'm gonna try to wake up around 5, 6, something like. I'm not gonna watch the whole card, but I'm definitely gonna watch the main card because the main card actually has 4 fights that I actually want to see.
Yeah, I agree. I'm probably going to be watching all the fights because I have nothing else to do at 4 a.m. except for sleep and sleeping. Well, sleeping is actually pretty cool, pretty nice, but UFC fights are pretty nice. I've always been a fan of these late night cards because there sure aren't too many people on Twitter at 4 a.m. watching two no-name Koreans going at it. But anyways, I'll be watching. I don't know if I'll be awake or not watching, but I'll be watching. And yeah, so it's not the best card, but we do have a great main event, which we'll get to later. Of course, Benson Henderson, Jorge Masvidal welterweight matchup. Before we talk about UFC Seoul, I do want to quickly go over last week's main event of UFC Monterrey. We have Neil Magny upsetting Kelvin Gastelum. Very fun fight. It went the distance. Basically, Neil Magny was doing so well on the ground for the first 3 rounds. Kelvin Gastelum goes in there, drops him in the 4th, drops him a couple times actually, and wins the last 2 rounds. So makes it very close, but Magny does get that split decision nod. So Daniel, how did you score the fight? Because there was a bit of controversy, and just your overall thoughts on the fight.
You know, it's really interesting to talk about how I scored the fight because, obviously you'd probably give the first 3 rounds to Magny, but the last 2 rounds for Gastelum, I felt like he did a lot more damage than Magny did in those first 3 rounds. So in a way, I kind of like how they score it in Pride, where they score the overall tale and story of the fight, because in a quote-unquote fight to the death, Gastelum would have won that. So I kind of felt like Gastelum was the better fighter and he won the fight. But I also understand under a scoring system why they gave it to Magny. But yeah, I kind of thought Gastelum won that fight, dude.
All right, and Apollo, give me your overall thoughts on the fight, and how did you score the Neil Magny take on Kelvin Gastelum?
It's interesting because I thought it could have been a draw. Actually, there was a strong case for 10-8 round for Gastelum in the 4th round because he dropped him twice and he was pretty much beating him up for most of the round. So that could have been a 10-8, and then he won the last round. So that could have been a 47-47 fight, but it's a split decision for Magny. I could see that because, like Daniel said, he pretty much won the 3 of the first 5. I mean, the first 3 rounds. So, but it's a tough fight. It actually went the opposite of how most people thought it would go. Most people thought Gastelum would win the first 3 rounds, and then Magny would rally in the last 2 rounds. But it was actually the other way. So.
Were you impressed with Gastelum's cardio at all? Like, just because lots of people said there's no way he's gonna last 5 rounds, blah blah blah, and he looked good in 4th and 5th round.
Oh yeah. He definitely looked good. I think he should stay at welterweight. Even though he lost the fight, I think that it's still one of his better performances. So.
Yeah, I'm going to add that I actually thought the scoring was absolutely perfect. I could see a draw, of course, with the 4th round being a 10-8 in favor of Gastelum. I just don't think the 2 knockdowns were enough because, honestly, he didn't do a whole lot. He wasn't able to come any closer than just dropping the guy to finishing the fight. I really don't think it was as severe as some people thought. I didn't score that fight 10-8, so therefore I did score it 48-47 for Neil Magny, which is what 2 judges saw, and didn't one judge score it 48-47 for Gastelum. So that means one of the first 3 rounds Gastelum won. I have a hard time of believing that, honestly. Like, thinking that's right, but judging is not the best, and we saw that earlier on in the card as well when Valimir Lazaro lost. And I know, Daniel, you have a bit to say about that. If you want to talk about that, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the worst decisions of the year by far, and a lot of people aren't talking about it. I guess just because a lot of people didn't watch that fight, but I mean, it was terrible. Valimir Lazaro outstruck him about 60-27, and he stuffed 13 of 14 takedowns. I mean, it was pretty clear cut to me, so I could not believe the judging there. And one other thing, one of those same judges scored the fight for Formiga against Henry Cejudo.
that was bad.
It was a clear 30-27 for Cejudo. So yeah, the judging that night was kind of off, man.
Now, Daniel, where does Gastelum go from here? Because now he's 1-2 in his last 3. That one win is a stoppage, not a doctor stoppage. I guess Nate Marquardt, you can say, threw in the towel, basically. It was in between round stoppage. Let's go with that. But Nate Marquardt is done. He doesn't really have anything left in the tank. So you can say that win was impressive, but if you think about who he was fighting, maybe not so much. Before that, went to a split with Tyron Woodley. Tyron is one of the best in the game, so no shame in losing to him. But now he lost to Neil Magny, who is still a very good fighter, but he wasn't ranked super high. It's not like you can say that Kelvin doesn't have any excuses for losing to Neil Magny, honestly. He's a very good fighter, but it's not like he was top 5 or anything like that. So how big of an upset do you think this was for Kelvin Gastelum, Daniel?
Honestly, I don't really think it's that big of a upset for him. I think that he's still a top 10 guy. I don't think he looked bad by any means. I think he still showed that he's a great fighter. He can compete with the best in the world, and I still want to see that fight with Matt Brown, honestly. I think that'd be a great fight for the fans.
Do you think fans overrated Kelvin, or do you think fans underrated Neil Magny? And I'm talking about fans, most fans that picked Kelvin Gastelum.
I don't think they overrated Kelvin at all. Maybe underrated Neil Magny because no one expected him to go out there and out-grapple Kelvin for the first 3 rounds. But, Kelvin showed that heart that we know he has in those last 2 rounds. And in my opinion, his losses aren't really losses. I mean, he goes to a split decision with the number 3 guy in the world. It could have gone either way. And the Neil Magny fight could have gone either way either. So, so you can make an argument that Kelvin Gastelum is undefeated.
I agree with that. And, yeah, the Tyron Woodley fight was pretty damn lackluster, so it's kind of hard to say. Yes, it could have gone either way, but it's hard to say either guy was a winner in that fight, honestly. But Paolo, before we move on, do you have anything else to add about Gastelum possibly being set back? How much this affects him, stuff like that? Anything else to add before we move on to tonight/tomorrow morning's UFC Soul
Yeah,
card?
well, I don't think it sets him back that much because Magny is. I kind of saw them sort of ranked in the same way, even though they're not literally ranked in the same ranking. But I kind of saw them as like fringe top 10 guys. So it was a battle to which guy makes it to the top 10. And right now Magny won, and it's not like he blew him out. He barely won. So I don't think Gastelum gets set back a bit. So if he faces another top 10 guy, I'm not gonna complain about it. I think he should still face a top 15 guy.
Now, where does Neil Magny, on the other hand, go from here? Do you think he's ready for that step up, a top 5, top 10 guy, or do you keep feeding him maybe top 15, top 20 guys to maybe extend his winning streak? Because, of course, he was riding a 7-fight winning streak, I believe. Then he lost to Demi Maia. Now he's 2-0 after the Eric Silva Love Fest came crashing down very quickly. But where does Neil Magny go from here, Paolo?
You could probably give him another top 10 guy. I can't really think of a fighter that you give him right now, but someone in the top 10 or maybe upper top 15.
What about Wonderboy, who he was supposed to fight?
That fight could still happen, actually, the Wonderboy fight. And knowing Magny, that guy's always ready to go. And I don't know.
Chances are it'll happen when it is supposed to. So we'll see. Maybe Magny won't want to step up in short notice, but I'm sure it wouldn't be too much of a problem. All right, moving on. UFC Seoul taking place tonight, tomorrow morning, depending where you are. Not the best card, but it does have some interesting fights. Um, One fight I do want to talk about. Well, actually, let's just start things off. First fight of the night, we have Dong Hun Kim, not the stun gun. So let me clarify that. I'm sure everyone knows there are two Dong Hun Kims on this card. One opening fight of the prelims. One is on the co-main event on the main card. Newcomer Dong Hun Kim is taking on Dominic Steele. Daniel, are you going with Steele, who I know you faded in his UFC debut against Zach Cummins, or are you going with the as you like to say, what is it, Little Dong or something like that? That's what you call him, correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the little dong. I think that he, first of all, he's a very experienced guy. He's a knockout artist, and Dominic Steele's been knocked out 4 times in his career. We all know every time you get knocked out, it makes it that much easier to get knocked out again. I'm not impressed with Steele at all. And I mean, this guy, Little Dong, he trains with the big dong, so I think he's gonna come in prepared. And the only thing that might be of question is the fact that he's a natural lightweight, but I'm not too worried about it, man. I got the underdog here, going with the Little Dong.
All right, Paul, are you going with Dominic Steele or a Little Dong?
I'm gonna go the other way here, but it's not a confident pick at all. I can definitely see Little Dong knocking Dominic Steele out, because I mean he is that type of fighter. He's an action fighter, and Dominic Steele, even though his name says non-stop action-packed, he can actually grind out decisions, and I think he might do that. I mean, hopefully his fighting IQ is that good that he figures out that he's the bigger guy against Little Dong and grinds him out. Because if he stands and trades with him, he probably will get knocked out. But I think I really like Steele here, so yeah, my pick is Steele, but it's not a confident pick at all.
Yeah, I'm siding with Paulo here. I like Dominic Steele, but honestly, this just off the fact that I've seen the guy fight. Dong Hun Kim, I know nothing about other than what Daniel just said. He trains with Big Dong, so maybe that'll be an advantage because Big Dong is a pretty good dong, but we don't know if Little Dong is a good dong, so I'm going with Dominic Steele. All right, moving on, we have a let's talk about this fight. Women's strawweight fight between He Ham take on Courtney Casey. Are you going with Ham or are you going with Casey, Daniel?
I think that Casey will use her size to bully around Ham and probably win a 30-27 decision.
Paul, are you going with Ham or are you going with Casey?
Oh yeah, Daniel said everything I wanted to say. I'm gonna go with Courtney Casey here. I think she's just a more well-rounded fighter. I think Ham is that type of fighter who wants to stand and trade, but I think Casey's durable enough to handle it, and she can grind out Ham. So maybe by decision or maybe a late sub or something like that.
Yeah, I like Casey here as well. I don't know, Ham. She fought Calderwood in her debut, hasn't fought since then, so she's been out for a little while. Casey made her debut in July against Calderwood as well, but she looked a lot better against Calderwood. She had her moments, let's just say that, and it was short notice. To me, it was an impressive showing, despite the fact that she obviously lost the matchup to Calderwood, who may be overrated a bit, but she's still a top women's strawweight in the UFC. So I am going to go with Courtney Casey. I think it might actually be a fun fight, to be honest. I think it'll be mostly on the feet. Casey might try and grind her a little bit, but I don't know. I think Casey takes it, either by decision or a late stoppage. All right, moving on. I don't know if we should actually talk about this or just say Bang or Kuntz, but we have Tai Hyun Bang take on Leo Kuntz. Daniel, are you going with Bang or are you going with Kuntz?
What's interesting about this fight is that it's had the most significant line movement in UFC history, and I'm just talking about in the short period of time. I initially placed a wager because I am of age, Nick, at plus 160 on Leo Kuntz. Currently, if I'm not mistaken, Leo Kuntz is about a minus 400 favorite with the comeback on Tai Hyun Bang at plus 340. I mean, that's unheard of, and word on the street is that, Tai Hyun Bang is coming into this fight with an injury. The word got out. Someone leaked some information. So, I'm going to take I was already picking Kuntz, but now with this information coming out, I'm just going to go with my gut. I got Leo the Lion Kuntz. And first of all, I know he had a bad showing against Islam Makhachev. I know he had a bad showing against Sam Alvey on Tough, but the guy's 17-2. He finds ways to win. He might be fighting guys that are, 1-18, 2-36, but he still finds a way to win. He could be losing those fights, but he wins them, and I don't think Tai Hyun Bang is that great of a fighter, let alone an injured Tai Hyun Bang. So I got Leo Kuntz here.
All right, Paul, are you going with Leo Kuntz or are you going with Bang to get the now upset?
Yeah, no, I actually like Kuntz here when Kuntz was still an underdog, and now he's like a big favorite. And like Daniel said, Tai Hyun Bang, he wants to stand and bang, and I don't know how effective he'll be at stand and banging when he's injured. So I like Kuntz to win this whatever way he wants, submission, TKO, a corner stoppage. Kuntz for the win.
Yeah, initially I was going with Tai Hyun Bang to grind out a decision, but and I should note that it's not official that he's injured, but it's definitely a possibility. Lots of people were saying, oh yeah, this is a fixed fight. Well, first off, no, it could be, but it's not fixed by the UFC because that would it's not fixed by the UFC. I know that. It could be, in a sense. Bang, I'm not saying for sure, but Bang could have been injured, just minor though, so he's still fighting. But then the word gets out that he's fighting, so everyone bets Kuntz. But either way, something is up. Personally, I do think there's a good chance Bang is hurt, so I am changing my pick to Leo Kuntz. I think he probably gets a stoppage as well. I wasn't impressed with him in his debut, but he was fighting a very good opponent. Bang, he hasn't looked fantastic. He's looked all right. And if he is injured, then I'm definitely going with Kuntz. And even with this line shift, something is up. So I am changing my pick to Leo Kuntz, probably inside the distance. All right, moving on. We have a featherweight matchup between Mike De La Torre and Yu Chul Nam. Daniel, are you going with Chul Nam or are you going with De La Torre?
This should be a really good fight as well. With Mike De La Torre, first of all, in his UFC debut, he goes toe-to-toe with Mark Bocek. That was very impressive. Then he ran into Brian Ortega, and, if you fight Brian Ortega, chances are you're getting tapped out. No big deal there. But then, he knocks Thiago Trator out in about 10 seconds, then he gets knocked out in 10 seconds against Maximo Blanco. So, I'm just waiting to see some consistency with Mike De La Torre. And as far as Yulchul Nam, he came out blasting in his UFC debut. He dropped Tokudomi about 3 or 4 times in that first round, but then he got grinded a little bit. So I question his fight IQ, but I think he's going to come in this fight super hungry. So I got Yulchul Nam here.
Paul, are you going with Yulchul Nam? Is De La Torre, he's a slight underdog, I believe. Last time I checked, he's at plus 100. So are you going with Nam or are you going with Mike De La Torre for the slight upset?
This fight's kind of hard to pick. It's almost like a coin flip fight, but I'm gonna lean with Nam here because I think De La Torre. I think Nam's gonna knock out De La Torre. I think he's gonna come in there and blitz him, and I don't know if De La Torre's gonna be able to survive that blitz. He did get knocked out in like 10 seconds or 9 seconds against Maximo Blanco, but you could make an argument there that Yves Lavigne stopped that fight a little bit too prematurely because it looked like De La Torre was recovering there a bit, and Yves Lavigne has a history of stopping fights too early, like that Philip Nover fight against I think Kyle Bradley, or something like that. He got booed throughout the whole arena during that night. But yeah, no, De La Torre, his chin. I'm not too confident about his chin. I think Nam's gonna put it on him and is gonna knock him out. I think the fight doesn't go the distance is a really good bet in this fight.
Interesting. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go with Mike De La Torre. And yes, he has not been consistent whatsoever. It's been win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. Coming off that knockout loss to Maximo Blanco, I do think it was a quick stoppage, but he was definitely hurt. And I do think Blanco probably would have just finished him anyways if the referee didn't call it off right then and right there. I am gonna go with Delatorre here. I haven't really been impressed with Nam whatsoever. Like he lost to Felipe Nover, and I actually thought he won that fight. But either way, it was a very close fight. It wasn't a fantastic fight by any means. You can't really be impressed with either guy there. Delatorre, I do think, has a lot of potential. Coming off that, well, prior to the knockout loss to Maximo Blanco, he absolutely starched Thiago Trader. So good performance from him there, but definitely inconsistent. So it will be interesting. I could see Nam pulling this off inside the distance because I don't think Torre has a fantastic chin, but I will go with Mike Delatorre. I think on paper it's close, but I think when it goes down, I think Mike Delatorre will come out a dominant victor, and I actually think he knocks out Yu Chul Nam. All right, the headlining fight of the prelims, Donnie Yang returns against Jake Collier. Daniel, are you going with a Yang or Collier?
I like Collier here. You know, in his UFC debut, he was looking really good up until the point when he got knocked out, and I think it was a matter of, you know, these UFC jitters. He wasn't pacing himself well. But in his last fight against Abreu, he really fought a smart fight. It was very impressive because you couldn't take the guy down and use his wrestling because the guy was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion. But then on the feet, he had to be careful because the guy threw some serious bombs. So I was very impressed with how Jake Collier fought in that fight. I've never been impressed with Donnie Yang. He's only fought about one time in the last 2 years, and it was against Dennis Hallman. You know, Dennis Hallman at the end of his career. You know, Dennis Hallman in his prime obviously submitted Matt Hughes twice in under 30 seconds. We all know that, but did you know that, Nick?
Nope. Actually, I did. I read that like yesterday, so I did.
Little MMA trivia for you, but that's not going to happen here, and Jay Collier is going to get the victory.
Paolo, are you going with Yang, or are you going with Jake Collier for, I believe, the fairly big. I believe he's a fairly big favorite in this matchup.
No, he's only a slight favorite. He's only around like a minus 120 or minus 1. He's not a big. Trust me, you can bet him straight. You don't need to parlay him in anything, and that might actually be a good bet because Collier's, like Daniel said, is a more well-rounded guy. He can stand and he can strike with Yang if he wanted to, and he can take him down and wrestle him if he want. Like Yang is a brawler, I think, from what I've seen in his fights. The last fight I saw of Yang was against Brad Tavares, and he totally got starched by Brad Tavares in that fight. Even though I think he won one round because just by activity. But no, I think Collier being the more experienced fighter and having that wrestling ace up his sleeve is gonna win the fight. Collier by decision or maybe a late stoppage somewhere.
I'm gonna complete the hat trick. I'm going with Collier as well. I don't know. I don't think this is going to be a great fight, really, whatsoever. I think Collier's going to grind him out, win a decision. I don't think it's really going to be competitive. Dong Yang has been really he hasn't been active, really, over the past few years. I believe he's returning to the octagon for the first time in a while. And Jake Collier, I really haven't been too impressed with him either. So I wish I could fade both guys, but one guy will win. I do think Jay Collier will win, and I'm not sure how, probably by decision. All right, moving on. The first fight on the main card, and this is going to be a fun fight. I've been saying it all along. When we're all watching these fights at, say, 6 a.m. or so, this is the fight that's going to wake us up from our little snooze when watching the prelims. Do Ho Choi taking on Sam Sicilia. Very, very, very fun featherweight matchup. A very close matchup. I do think it's going to be exciting. Fight night worthy. Daniel, are you going with Choi or are you going with Sicilia?
Well, first of all, I think Do Ho Choi is kind of like the Korean Thomas Almeida. You know, he puts his combinations well together. He likes to knock you out. And, you know, a lot of people think that Sam Sicilia is going to come out here and, you know, try to sling some leather, but I think he's going to try to wrestle Choi and get him to the ground, try to clinch him up. But unfortunately for him, Do Ho Choi is going to knock him out. So my official prediction is Do Ho Choi via KO.
I actually think Sam Sicilia will go out there swinging, but before I get to my pick, Paulo, are you going with Sicilia or Do Ho Choi?
You know what? I really wanted to bet Cecilia here. If you saw half the battle with Andrew the Clown Kid, he said a lot of the things why I wanted Sam Cecilia. Well, I kind of wanted to bet Sam Cecilia because he's one of those guys who just like, if you look at him, you're just like he's not the most athletic guy. He's not physically gifted by any means. If you say he's not the best wrestler, he's not the best striker, but he just goes out there and just just mans up and wins. And I think he's gonna try to do that against Doo Ho Choi, but. I'm not confident. I'm not confident in Cecilia at all. If anything, the prop bet to make is maybe Cecilia by knockout, but I don't think so. I think if he stands and trades with Doo Ho Choi, he's gonna get knocked out. This guy is just so much faster. He's more athletic. He throws combinations better, and he does get hit a little bit. I'm really not so sure about his chin yet. But I think Choi is just a much better fighter here. I think he's gonna knock out Cecilia in the second round.
I said Sam Cecilia. I'm going to disagree with Daniel in the sense that I think Sam Cecilia will go out swinging, but I do think that'll be a mistake after a few minutes. I think Doo Ho Choi knocks him out as well. I think he's the fresher guy. He's the younger guy. I think he's probably the better guy already. Sam Cecilia could win this fight. He has brutal knockout power. He could win this fight. Maybe Doo Ho Choi, maybe he isn't as good as we thought. But I do think this guy's ceiling is very high. I am very high on the guy. I think he wins this fight. It's just another stepping stone for the quote-unquote Korean Thomas Almeida. So yeah, I do like Doo Ho Choi inside the distance by knockout, probably in the first or second round. All right, moving on, we have Yoshihiro Akiyama Sexyama taking on Alberto Mina. Daniel, are you going with Mina or are you going with Sexyama?
Well, Sexyama is a bona fide badass. I mean, this guy's a singer. He's an actor. He's selling out stadiums. I mean, what isn't Akiyama? But, unfortunately, he's 40 years old, and Alberto Mina is undefeated. He's been training at King's MMA, and he's already a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion. So I think the fact that he's working at his stand-up with one of the best in the world, plus his mentality and that will to win, I think Alberto Mina is going to get the upset here.
Paolo, are you going with Sexyama or are you going with Alberto Mina?
It's funny because I really hate to say this, but Akiyama, what he looks like now, he might be on something. I'm not going to start here and start slinging mud and being like, oh, this guy's so shredded. He definitely has to be on some serious steroids, right? But, no, the thing is with Akiyama, I know some people are going to say that this guy's a singer, this guy's a model, this guy's whatever, a playboy or whatever he is. How he's such a busy person. How can he have enough time to dedicate to MMA? You know what I mean? Well, here's what I'm going to say, Manny Pacquiao was doing like 50 things at the same time, and he was still killing people in boxing. Patrick Cote has like a full-time job with RDS, and he has a lot of business ventures. And he even said himself in an interview that his main focus isn't even on MMA. He only does it for fun, and he's still kicking ass. And he's like way up there in terms of fight years. And I think Akiyama is around the same. It's in the same boat. He's a fighter who doesn't fight because he needs the money. He fights because he wants to fight. And I think that's enough motivation for him to win. Plus, he's fighting in Korea. I mean, Akiyama is half Korean. His Korean name is Chu Sung-hun, I think. And when this came out, I think they were promoting him by that name, but, most fans don't know that, so they went back with Akiyama. But, with that said, Mina's a really good guy. I mean, he's like Daniel said, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion. He's got some pretty good stand-up. I mean, he knocked out the Brawler in his debut fight pretty handily. So I think he's going to make this a tough fight, but I'm still going to lean with Akiyama here to get the job done.
Yeah, Paulo, you brought up some good points about Sexyama, about the fact that he's doing all this stuff. What isn't he doing? But that doesn't always matter. You brought up some good fighters, Patrick Cote. He's doing a lot. He has, like you mentioned, full-time job with RDS. He's doing he does a bunch of commentary for them as well. I recall in Montreal after his win over Joe Riggs, after that fight, he went down to the commentary booth, ringside or cage side, and commentated the rest of the card. Like, this guy doesn't, like, his main focus at this point, it's MMA, but it also isn't. Like, he's focused on other things as well. Yeah. Sexyama, same boat, like Paul mentioned. I think he gets the job done. But Mina, he's undefeated for a reason, but honestly, you look at his record, and it's like, who has he fought? And first round knockout over Shinso Anzai in his debut. over a year ago. So Sekiyama hasn't been active as well. Mina hasn't been active. Both guys have probably improved. Mina has probably improved more because he's younger. But really, this is a toss-up. But just because it's in Korea, just because it's Sekiyama, I'm gonna go with Sekiyama. All right, moving on. We have Dong Han Kim, the big dong this time, taking on short notice replacement Dominic Waters. And I just love that both Dongs are fighting Dominic, and Dominique. But we have Dong Han Kim, Dominic Waters. Daniel, are you going with the stun gun, or are you going with Waters, who's training at Jackson's MMA, actually? So we'll see.
Well, unfortunately, Greg Jackson can't step in there and fight for him. And, first of all, Dong Han Kim has only lost to Carlos Condit, Damian Maia, and who's the other guy he lost to?
Tyron Woodley.
Tyron Woodley. So, I mean, come on. He only loses to the best in the world. And Dominic Waters, much respect to him. He's stepping in the octagon with Dong Han Kim. I'm not stepping in the octagon with Dong Han Kim. I wish him the best, but I think he's going to lose this fight inside the distance.
Yeah, or Paolo, are you gonna go with Dong Han Kim? I'm assuming you will because it's a pretty obvious choice.
Yeah, I mean, when I said a while ago there's 4 fights in the main card I wanted to see, I mean, the main reason why I wanted to see this fight is because this is Dong Han Kim spotlight. This is basically like, I think Andrew said that, or Wes from Half the Battle said that this is like a squash fight for Dong Han Kim. And we're gonna see what Dong Han Kim's really made of. Is he gonna come in there and play it safe, grind him down, and maybe choke him out or something, or is he gonna come in there and Dong Han Rambo and just put it on this guy and knock him out like he did against what's it called? John Hathaway, that spinning back elbow, which is still one of the most violent knockouts I've ever seen. Oh my God! I mean, where's John Hathaway now? Is that guy still all right? Jesus. Anyway, yeah, I think he's gonna smash Waters, and anything short of a stoppage win or a dominating win is not gonna be impressive at all. And here's a little trivia: before this fight, when else was Dong Han Kim the biggest favorite?
I don't know.
Matt Brown, way back when. He was like a -450 against Matt Brown, and he barely won that fight, too.
He lost that fight, but somehow the Atlanta judges, believe that, where I'm from, disgraced us and gave it to Dong Han Kim when Matt Brown clearly won that fight. But you know what? If they rematch again one day down the line, we all know the Immortal's going to win that one. So it's all good, man.
I would pick Matt Brown in that one as well, but we're not talking about Matt Brown here. We're talking about Dominic Waters, who did he debut against?
George Sullivan.
George Sullivan. There we go.
He got grinded out by Sullivan.
Yeah.
Now he's gonna get grinded out by an elite grinder.
No, he's gonna get knocked out by an elite knocker-outer. I don't even know if that's not even a word, but it doesn't matter. Dong Han Kim wins this fight. Big Dong every day, all day. I appreciate Dominic Waters stepping up on very short notice. He got the call on the day Holly Holm knocked out Ronda Rousey. So how cool is that? Getting the biggest fight of your career by far, your teammate with the biggest upset of all time. That November 14th had to be a good day for him, but November 28th is not going to be a good day for him. Dong Han Kim wins this fight. He's better everywhere. He can win this fight literally however he wants. He can grind out Waters, and I don't think he will. He'll most likely knock him out first round, but I don't know. It could go. I was almost gonna say it could go either way. It could not go either way, but Dong Han Kim can win this fight however he wants. But I do like him by a knockout in the first round. And I should say, like I said, I appreciate Waters stepping up, so we see Dong Han Kim fight on the Korean card, debut in Korea, but it's not going to be pretty for him. All right, moving on. Main event of the evening. We have Benson Henderson, the former lightweight champion, taking on Jorge Masvidal. 2 former lightweights in a welterweight matchup. So no size disadvantage for Benson this time around, so it'll be interesting to see how he looks. Daniel, now I know you're already going with Masvidal, so tell us why right here, right now, on Before the Battle.
I think it's a really good fight, first of all, and Benson does know how to win these close decisions, and one criticism of Masvidal is that he'll take his foot off the pedal, and he'll win the first round big and then coast. But what people got to understand is that he does that in fights that he doesn't take seriously. Like, for example, that Ally Akinta fight. Well, let's not mention the fact that he looked incredible in that Ally Akinta fight. He drops him and almost finishes him. But before that fight, he's saying stuff like, "Who's Ally Akinta?" Like, he didn't take him seriously at all at the weigh-ins. Colby Covington is, wiping him down. Then against Cesar Mutanch, he goes up a weight class. He misses weight there. But this time, he took this very seriously. He's been training with Colby Covington at, I think it's Oregon State. If I'm incorrect, one of the wrestlers is going to get on my ass about it. But I think he's been training at Oregon State with, all the great wrestlers there because he took this fight very seriously. And, I mean, when George Masvidal doesn't take a fight seriously, he's still a really badass fighter, but now he's taking it very seriously, and I think he's making big improvements every fight. And for me, Benson Henderson has stayed exactly the same, for quite a while now. And a couple of those decisions that he won, I actually thought he lost, man. So I think that a lot of people are going to be shocked, and that George Masvidal is going to find a way to win here.
Now, Benson Henderson, this is his second fight at welterweight, and he used a towel, so. And he weighed 170, so I'm not. Do you take that into consideration at all? Do you think the weight cut was rough, or do you think I don't really get why he used a towel when he was right on like if he weighed in at 171, I could understand it would have been a rough weight cut, but him moving up and then weighing on the dot, do you take what are your thoughts on him using towel? Is that just precautionary reasons, or what's that for?
It was confusing for sure, but I don't really think it's going to make a difference. On the flip side, it was actually encouraging to see George Masvidal make 170 on the dot, no problems. But, with Benson Henderson, even though, it might have looked like he struggled a little bit, he struggled back in the day at 155 too, and he still performed well. So, I expect Benson Henderson to perform like Benson Henderson. I just think that Masvidal is going to have an answer for him. A lot of people online gave me a lot of crap when I said that Masvidal has superior MMA wrestling, and what I meant by that, people were acting like I was saying he's going to take down Benson at will and this and that, and that's not even close to what I said. What I meant was that he's going to stuff the takedowns from Benson and be able to keep the fight standing. This isn't a wrestling match. This is an MMA fight, so I think he's going to put it all together on Fight Night, and we'll see what happens.
Paolo, are you going with short notice replacement? I guess kind of short notice because Jorge Masvidal was supposed to fight Dong Hun Kim on the main card. That was booted up to the co-main when Mirko Cro Cop was found doing illegal things, using illegal things, of course. But who do you have, Bendo or Masvidal?
Okay, I'm still gonna pick Bendo, but I really like Masvidal here, especially on the bet. This is dog or pass for me. Because the thing is, I mentioned this over and over. I'm like a broken record. Since when does Benson Henderson blow someone out of the water? Since when does he win a decision where people are like, he won that fight, no contest. He won that fight, even a blind judge would think he won that fight. The only fight I can think of on the top of my head is Nate Diaz. And I mean, I guess some of his really early fights. But before that, it's been controversial decision after controversial decision, because that's how Benson Henderson fights. He's a point fighter, man, because I think he's not, I mean, I don't want to say he's not good enough to finish a fight, but he just doesn't have that finishing ability that a lot of fighters have. So I think this fight is going to go to decision, and I think Bendo might usually win it that way, because I forgot someone said this, but most people are saying this, that Masvidal knows how to lose a fight and Bendo knows how to win a fight based on points. Well, this is the thing that I'm going to actually mention. The reason I think Masvidal is so casual in a lot of his fights, because this guy's a street fighter, man. This guy came from the streets. He's been fighting at such a young age. That's why to him, when he goes in the cage, he's like, he can afford to take it casually and not too seriously, because to him it's just whatever. It's just whatever. But now that he's actually stepping up in a main event against a former champion in Benson Henderson, I think he's going to step up and he might bring on his best performance. And another thing about the MMA wrestling, dude, this guy took Rustam Khabilov down, man. You don't just take a freaking Dagestani wrestler like that down. And I'm like when he took him down, actually Brian Stan and Kenny were just like, whoa, we didn't expect that to happen. And I'm like, yeah, neither did I. But it just goes to show how good Jorge Masvidal is. This guy is criminally underrated fighter, and like we said, the reason is because sometimes he doesn't take his fight seriously. He underestimates his opponents. But I think here he's going to step up and he's going to put on one of his better performances. But the thing is, Bendo is just one of those guys that just finds a way to win. So I'm still going to pick Bendo, but I'm definitely cheering for Jorge Masvidal here.
This almost seems like a Cathal Pendred situation. The guy, he wins fights, but does he actually win fights? But maybe we shouldn't compare Bendo to Cathal Pendred because they are quite different. Bendo's a fair bit better, but I am going with Jorge Masvidal. Benson Henderson, the guy's the former lightweight champion for a reason, but he is also the former lightweight champion for a reason because he's gone downhill over the years. Jorge Masvidal is a veteran of the sport already. He has over 30 fights, all of this, but he is getting better each and every fight. This guy is robbed of fights. He beat Ali Quinta. I have scored that 30-27 for Jorge Masvidal, and 2 judges scored that fight for Ali Quinta. And this to me was a worse decision than like Michael Johnson, Benny Dariush, because Jorge Masvidal hurt Ali Quinta on multiple occasions. He nearly finished the guy. It was an impressive showing from Jorge. He should have won that fight.
Hey, Nick, sorry to interrupt you, man, but was it a worse decision than Benson Henderson versus Frankie Edgar, too?
I can't really comment on that because I probably have seen the fight start to finish, but I don't remember. But I know people say it's a bad decision, so I will trust 99% of the MMA fans and whatnot. And the first fight, was that like a robbery? Like, kind of talk me through those Edgar fights a little bit.
Yeah, it was absolutely a robbery. You know, the first round, Benson did his thing, landed some nice leg kicks, and then after that, you know, Frankie just picked him apart for the next four rounds. He took him down. He dropped him. I mean, it was pretty clear-cut, 49-46, and everyone was in disbelief. Like, you know, John Anik was in the octagon. He was like, what? Like, everyone, it was just crazy, man. You should rewatch it on UFC Fight Pass.
Possibly, but we have Jorge Masvidal, Benson Henderson. Now, getting back to my point of why Benson is on decline, he's still a good fighter. He's still top 10, but Jorge Masvidal is getting better every day. Benson Henderson is getting worse. I'm not saying he's getting, like, he's slowly declining, because look at his he's 3-3 in his last 6 fights. So already that's not a fantastic record by any means. Yes, you look at his competition, the 3 fights he lost, current champion Rafael dos Anjos, former champion Anthony Pettis, and future title challenger Donald Cerrone. So no shame in losing to those guys whatsoever. But then you look at those 3 wins. Brandon Thatch, if that was a 3-round fight, Brandon Thatch would have won. Thatch was clearly up 2-1 going to the 4th, and then gets submitted. People were saying, oh, this win is so inspiring. Benson Henderson moving up to welterweight, come from behind victory. And yeah, it was a good win, but I can't consider a come from behind win an impressive performance simply because on paper Benson was losing the fight until he gets a stoppage. Just recently, fairly recently, Jing Liang was submitted by, I can't recall the guy's name, but that was epic. The guy that won, he was losing fairly clearly, comes back, submits Li Jing Liang in the 3rd. But can you say that was an impressive performance? Not really, because the guy was losing the fight. Same situation. Rustam Khabilov. If it was a 3-rounder, Khabilov would have picked up the biggest win of his career. Rustam Khabilov is very good, but he's not even top 15. Josh Thompson, Bellator fighter currently, and Bendo wins a split that almost everyone scored for Thompson. So, and then before that, loses Pettis. Before that, beats Gilbert Melendez, but everyone scored that from Melendez. A fair number of people, controversial. I just haven't been impressed with Benson Henderson lately. Jorge Masvidal has looked very good. And this is more of a fade on Benson, but Benson does win his fights. He loses fights and then gets the decision, I'll say, and that could definitely be the case. Or he can completely outclass Jorge Masvidal in a few hours and get the judge's nod, or even pull off submission. Who knows? Jorge has been submitted in the past, but I'm going to stick to my gut and go with Jorge Masvidal, who's getting better each and every day despite being a veteran. Benson Henderson is not. He's been the same fighter for a while. He's on his way out of the sport despite being number 7 or whatever. For that reason, I'm going to go with Jorge Masvidal. I think he keeps the fight standing. I think he outpoints, believe it or not, he outpoints Benson Henderson to pick up a 5-round decision. And I do want to add that people say, oh, Jorge gasses. I will say, though, he took this fight seriously. He didn't miss weight at 170. That was pretty bad. Moving up, he made 155, then moves up to 170, misses weight. So that was just the fact that he was taking seriously. Jorge, I think, is taking this fight seriously. Probably, I think probably one of the first main events in the UFC for him, if not the first. You can't not take the main event 5-round fight, UFC Korea debut against former champion. You can't take that not seriously. He's taking this fight seriously, and I think he'll come out on Friday evening, Friday night, Saturday morning, whatever you want to call it. I think he's going to win the fight by decision. All right, anything else, Daniel or Paolo, you want to add about the card that's going to go down in approximately 5 hours? Anything from the prelims we didn't touch on, anything from the main card you want to add, anything at all before we get to our counter routines?
Yeah, you should check out this kid, Marco Beltran. You know, he had a really good fight with Marlon Chito Vera, and I think that the talent coming out of the Ultimate Fighter Latino America is a lot superior to the talent coming out of Tough China. And the Tough China guy, Ning Wang Yu, he was actually a minus 270 favorite. So I thought that was kind of off. And then I looked into it even more. And Beltran's been training with guys like Anthony Pettis, guys like Izzy Style Wrestling, you know, Valley Flow Striking. So, you know, he's getting top levels training here. And I think that, you know, he's flying under the radar here as an underdog. So look out for Marco Beltran.
I agree with you. I like him in this fight as well. He's coming off that win over Chito Vera, and I'm pretty high on Chito Vera. And I know, Daniel, you are as well. So impressive win from him there. And was it a decision, or did he stop Vera?
No, decision.
No, he decision. Vera has never been stopped, my man.
All right. So impressive win nonetheless. Decision or finish. And Ning Guan Yu coming off that TKO, I believe, or Royston Ree. But, like, that means absolutely nothing. I remember watching his fight live, his tough final bout against whoever he won, but that was a very poor fight. His debut when he fought for the tough crown,
that was one of the most boring fights ever.
That was a bad fight. I was sitting at my computer at like 6 a.m. watching that fight, and I don't know why I was sitting on my computer at 6 a.m. watching that fight, but it was not a good fight. His TKO win over Royston Ree was impressive, but it's Royston Ree. So.
Royston Ree was arguably the worst striker in the roster. No offense to Royston Ree, because that guy he's from the Evolve MMA team in Singapore, and those guys have sick jiu-jitsu, but that guy just had no striking whatsoever, and that's why Ning Guang Yu looked like a freaking world beater against him. Against Marco Beltran, I think Beltran's going to sub him and expose his ground game. That's why he's such a good underdog bet, like Daniel said. I
can't believe that Beltran's the underdog.
Yeah, well, honestly. Who knows? But, like, I just wanted to add to the tough Latino America, and one guy that nobody's talking about right now is Freddie Serrano. He's going up against Yao Jukuy. Yeah. And the thing about Freddie Serrano is this guy, he's a really good wrestler, and he's really small though. He's like 5'2" or 5. He's like short. He's like really short. He's one of those really short, bulky guys that's kind of has that Gleison Tibau or Josumar Poliaris build, where they're like short, and once they get a hold of you, you're not gonna buck them off because their center of gravity is so low. And he, in his last fight, I mean, he knocked out Bentley Seiler. I mean, like, woohoo, he knocked out Bentley Seiler. Who cares? Like, but I think that makes him a really competitive fighter because that was his weakness before that. He didn't have much of a striking game. But now that he has a striking game on top of his really good wrestling game, I think he might be an under-the-radar guy at flyweight. And he's a tough Latino America guy, so maybe that's another reason why people are not paying much attention to him. But, I mean, look out for this guy. I think this guy could do some damage at flyweight. I mean, I'm not going to say he's going to be a title contender or anything like that, but I think he's going to stick around the UFC.
Yeah, I was actually impressed with his win over Bentley Seiler, I believe, not too long ago.
Yeah, and I don't know why he was an underdog. When I saw that, I was like,
He
what the
was.
f? Why is this guy an underdog?
Was Bentley Seiler the guy that was a doctor or something like
Yeah,
that?
he was the
Yeah,
worst
so
fighter in that show, man.
I'm sorry, but we say you can be everything like Sexyama, but if you're a doctor and fighting, you're not fully committed to like being a doctor
Yeah.
takes more than being. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that, but I don't know.
Yeah, well,
In,
respect to that guy, right? I mean, he's a doctor and a
yeah.
fighter. How many guys like that can you find in the UFC?
He was able to check for his own concussion probably. He
Yeah.
didn't even have to go to the. But honestly, Serrano, he looked good in that fight, no matter his competition or whatever. I think this guy could do big things. He will do big things tonight, tomorrow morning. I'm not sure he's like top guy or if he'll ever be, but he wins this fight for sure. I think he beats Zakoi inside the distance. And you mentioned I kind of thought he was more of a knockout guy because that's what we saw in his debut, 100%. Now that you add that on like tough, he was more of a wrestler. And now that he has a striking game, he's kind of well rounded, according to you. So
Yeah, I just hope
definitely
he's not.
interesting.
I just hope he doesn't have that. I don't know what it is, some kind of condition when you get a wrestler and they learn how to strike and they fall in love with their striking and they suddenly think they're Chuck Liddell or something like that. I just hope he doesn't go into that with Yao Jukui, because Yao Jukui, this guy, I don't know, this guy doesn't really have knockout power, but
He has a losing record, okay?
yeah, but he's still, his striking is still his main game. So why would you fight him in his, in his like main, like in his only way to win? You know what I mean? So I hope he has a better fight IQ and like mixes it up and beats him fairly.
Possibly. But you could also argue that Serrano is a better striker. Honestly, like he probably is. I think he knocks out Zakoi. But I do see your point that if Zakoi's only chance of winning is on the feet, then yeah, take it down if you have good wrestling. But that'll be an interesting fight. But I think Freddie Serrano, no matter how, I think he finishes this fight. I think we covered every single prelim fight. We covered every single main card fight. I do just want to kind of add that, yeah, it's starting at 5 a.m., but we are going to see, I think, some good fights. Like, prelims, they're not stacked whatsoever, okay? But I think we'll see some good fights. Ham Casey's actually could be exciting. Bang Coons will be interesting to see why the line flipped so hard, so fast. Mike Delatorre, I think we're going to see an impressive win from him. Serrano, like we mentioned, Marco Beltran. Tune in. I think you should. Fun fights on the main card as well. Each and every main card fight is worth watching. And even if you just tune in for the main card, do that. 8 a.m. Eastern Time start time. Not too early, so tune in and watch some good fights. All right, so let's get to our counter move teams. Daniel, if you're ready, and you say you always are, you better be ready. Give me your 5 fighters on your counter move team.
Well, Nick, first of all, I was born ready, right?
As you're flicking your mouse to get into the page. Okay, who are your 5 fighters on your counter move team?
Well, the 5 fighters on my counter move team consist of Dong Hyun Kim, the big dong, Jorge Masvidal, Do Ho Choi, Marco Beltran, and Jake Collier.
All right, and Paolo, who is on your counter move team?
Yeah, I share some of the same fighters with Daniel. I got Do Ho Choi, the Korean Superboy. I got Marco Psycho Beltran. I got Freddie Serrano, my boy. I got the Korean Bulldozer Uchul Nam, and I got Chu Sung Hun, aka Sexy Yama, Yoshihiro Akiyama.
All right, I got Big Dong to knock out Dominic Waters in the first round. I got Jorge Masvidal to score a point-filled decision against the former lightweight champion Benson Henderson. I got Do Ho Choi to say goodnight to Sam Cecilia. I got Mike Delatorre to knock out Yu Chul Nam. And I got Freddie Serrano to knock out Yao Sakui. I think that does it. We are only a few hours. Actually, we're 5 hours away exactly away from UFC Seoul. You guys better be awake, but you probably won't be. And I hope I will be, but we'll see what happens. Now, Daniel, appreciate you coming on. Just let the listener know where they can find you on social media and anything coming up. Let us know where you can find your bets and everything like that.
Yeah, you can find me on social media at Best Fight Picks and at bestfightpicks.com. I am the host of the show Half the Battle, and you can find that on SoundCloud, on YouTube, and on iTunes. You should go there and give me a 5-star review. And I got some really cool interviews coming up. Obviously I just dropped one with 18-1 Jimmy Rivera, and it's a really good insight into the mind of a winner. And then I got one coming up with Mairbek Taisumov, so and his opponent Beneil Dariush. So you guys should definitely check that out. Half the Battle. Enjoy it, guys. Best of luck with the fights.
All right, Paolo, where can we find your writing on 2 different websites? Where can we find you on social media? And anything else you got to say? Now's your time.
Yeah, my personal account is at GoPauloMMA. You can follow that. It's written right there. You can follow my writing at Today's Knockout and at Sportsnet. That's Roger Sportsnet, one of the biggest sports websites in Canada. And I actually have a little bit of an announcement to make. The podcast I've been talking about like weeks before, when it was still in early stages of development, is finally ready to go. So lately, we actually just interviewed Kobe Covington, and he's a really great interview, man. And I can't wait for that. Just stay tuned on Twitter or social media and keep following, and I'll let you know when it's gonna come out. It should come out pretty soon, around the big fight week.
Do you have a co-host yet?
Yeah, actually, my co-host is Emma Chalance. You can follow her at E Chalance on Twitter, and she does the local MMA for Australia. She was actually part of the UFC 193 media crew, and she got to do interviews with the likes of Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm, and all the other big names out there. So look out for that. We're gonna make it official soon. Just have to, finalize things a bit.
Awesome. Now you can find me on Twitter at NickUFC. Check out my website and my writing at MMAJunior.co, BloodyElbow.com, and a little bit at MMAsucker.com. Check out my weekly podcast, my other weekly podcast. I guess you can kind of say this is more of a web show, but my podcast, hosted with John King each and every week, is called MMA Junior Radio. This past week, who did we have on? I can't even remember. That is bad. But next week, we have a bunch of fighters on. We have WSOF fighter Robbie Peralta. We have a bunch of guys. Mike Pierce, possibly. So a few tentative fighters. I just chatted with John Howard. So that'll be on there as well. And I'm in the works with a few other guys for next week. So stay tuned for that. For UFC Soul, if I'm awake, and I already committed to it, so I better be awake, I am doing the 6th round show, post-fight show, right after UFC Soul. I'll be dead tired, bags under my eyes, but it's all right. I'm doing it with fellow Bloody Elbow writer Michael Hutchinson. 20-30-minute show right after the fight, talking, recapping it. We'll be tired, but tune in for that. Usually Kid Nate and Zane Simon of Bloody Elbow are the hosts of that. They do that each and every week, but I said I'll do it because they didn't want to, because they're smart enough and they're not getting up for UFC Soul. But other than that, I'll be doing a recap of the main event. I'll probably be doing a recap of the main event. I'll be posting the next fights for the main card winners of UFC Soul, and I think that's about it. So both of those are on BloodyElbow.com. So yeah, check out MMAJunior.co for results of the show of UFC Soul. 5 hours away, less than 5 hours now, UFC Soul. Tune in, wake up, and enjoy the fights. All right, talk to you guys later.